Welcome, everyone. No, start again. Three, two. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our series, Defeating Diabetes, with the star of the show, Pastor Gavin Whitcomb from Moores Mountain Church.
Hi there.
Pastor Gavin, welcome back. This is our part two.
Thank you.
This is part two of our series, and we're talking about diabetes and how
to deal with it.
How to not just deal with it, but defeat it. How to be able to,
Right.
not even end up like you found in the first one. We found out you were tested and you had early diabetes or early onset diabetes, or however you phrase it. I'm sorry, I can't recall exactly how you phrased it.
Yeah, well, the term is pre-diabetes.
Pre-diabetes. Thank you.
Which really, it's if somebody has pre-diabetes, they have diabetes. They're just at the beginning stages of it. But they call it pre-diabetes because if your blood glucose levels are below a certain amount, then they consider diabetes at a certain point. I think like fasting would be over 125. I think that's 125 milligrams per milliliter of blood or something like that. We just say 125 in America anyway.
Yeah.
But really, if your sugar's elevated, you're just at the beginning phases of diabetes. You're diabetic, but they just call it pre-diabetes.
Yeah. And now with that, you changed your diet. And since then, you have not developed into diabetes. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you said your diabetes was getting better, like your blood work is better than it was.
Yeah. Well, before we continue, let me just explain to our viewers that we are not doctors. And
yes, of course, you're right.
What we're providing, don't look to us for medical advice. We're just sharing our opinions and experiences, and my experiences based on my interpretations of what doctors and scientists and people knowledgeable in this subject have said. But I'm not a doctor, and for specific medical advice, be sure to check with your physician or primary care doctor or health professional. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, if I could just give a brief recap about diabetes and why it's so important.
Yeah, please.
Okay, there are two types. Type 1 usually occurs when somebody is in their teenage years, like early teens approaching puberty, where for some unknown reason, the immune system attacks the pancreas and destroys the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. And so therefore they don't produce insulin. And if they don't get insulin, eventually they'll die. So that's type 1. And with that kind, you have to have insulin injections, to live. And so then there's type 2 diabetes. It's also called adult onset diabetes. And that's a little different. That's where you're making insulin, but your body does not use the insulin properly. You become, the term is insulin resistant. So your body, your cells, like the glucose, which is the term for sugar when it's in the form that you use it in your blood, the glucose can't enter the cell unless the door is unlocked. There are receptors on your cells, and so insulin opens those receptors to let the glucose or the sugar in, to give your cells energy. So with type 2 diabetes, that this of the glucose opening and getting into the cells, it doesn't work right. So what happens is then your body starts to produce more insulin. Your body's thinking, okay, well, there must not be enough insulin because there's too much glucose in the blood, too much sugar in the blood. And so your body starts cranking out more insulin. And eventually, either your pancreas gets petered out and can no longer produce it as much, or your cells just don't respond. So the result is you get higher glucose levels or higher blood sugar levels. And the problem with that is that high blood glucose levels over a prolonged period of time destroy your nerves in your blood vessels. So that's why, eventually people can go blind, or they have to have their legs cut off because there's no, not adequate circulation,
Yeah.
or they develop heart disease, because and dementia, because the nerves and the blood vessels are affected by high glucose levels for a long period of time. That's why, if anyone listening finds out they have elevated blood sugar levels, they ought to take it seriously. We're going to be talking about what you can do to help it. Okay, so um, I've heard this illustration, John. I think it's a good analogy. I've known of people who had peanut allergies. In fact, I knew this one guy. He said, I'm allergic to peanuts," and he said, "If I eat just one peanut, my throat closes up. I can hardly breathe, and I could die." That's what he told me. And there are people like that. So if you had a peanut allergy, one approach, I guess, would be you could take medication that would help you deal with the allergic reaction,
Yeah.
and then keep on eating peanuts, but take the medicine. But wouldn't it much more avoid eating peanuts? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're allergic to them, right? So if you're allergic to peanuts, you have this severe peanut allergy, man, quit eating peanuts.
Yeah.
Well, if someone is diabetic or pre-diabetic, their body has a difficult time metabolizing the glucose and the sugars and the carbohydrates and the starches. So the smartest thing to do is to lay off of them. Don't eat as many carbs. And here's the approach that they took for many years, and some doctors still do this. They find out you're diabetic, so they say, okay, we're going to put you on insulin. So instead of really addressing the diet the way they should, they say, we're going to
Yeah.
put you on insulin. Well, the problem with insulin levels, higher insulin levels and additional insulin, that's not good for you either. My understanding is that can irritate the blood vessels, and irritated blood vessels, like our blood vessels are lined with a thin lining called the endothelium. And so it's not eating too much cholesterol that builds up on your arteries that gives you heart disease. It's when the endothelium is irritated or inflamed and gets damaged through this small LDL particles and higher insulin levels and higher sugar levels, that your body brings cholesterol to repair the damage. So if you keep getting a lot of damage to your endothelium, well, then your body keeps sending cholesterol there to repair the damage. Cholesterol gets blamed for it, but I've heard this, that it's like blaming fire trucks for a fire. Well, no, the fire trucks didn't cause the fire. They're showing up to help, get rid of it and prevent more damage from it.
Yeah.
So, and here's another thing, John. The approach of, oh, you're diabetic, so we're going to put you on insulin. Uh, Insulin is also a fat storing hormone. So it puts, so if, for example, if I went on insulin today, I would get I would gain weight. Why? Because it's a fat storing hormone. So a lot of people, they go on insulin and they gain weight. Then their doctor says, you weigh too much, you need to lose some weight. But if they're taking insulin all the time, that sends a signal to your body that says, do not burn fat, hold on to it, store it. So a better way is the path that I have followed and a lot of others, and what my doctor initially told me: cut the sugar and the carbs, and change your diet. And exercise helps too, because when you're moving your muscles and using your muscles can take up glucose out of the blood without insulin. It doesn't need it. It's a different mechanism. So, but my understanding is, even more powerful than exercise is the diet.
Yeah.
So Now, now, if I could just explain the dietary approaches, there are three different levels that every diabetic needs to take and can go on. And one is eat a low carbohydrate diet. Okay, so now carbohydrates are sugars that are tied together in different ways. The molecules are bigger. So, like table sugar or high fructose corn syrup, they're very simple sugars, but there are ways that sugar molecules get tied together and get bigger. They're carbohydrates, carbon and hydrogen, and in different arrangements. But when you eat carbohydrates, your body turns them to sugar. So, like, there's not like metabolically speaking, eating a piece of bread is like on the same sort of category as eating a candy bar, because that bread, the starches in the bread turn into sugar, the same thing that the sugar in the candy bar has. So, but so you can go on a lower carbohydrate diet where you're cutting out the sugars, the starches, potatoes, pasta, rice. But you still might eat some foods that have some carbs in them, like for example, I eat avocados, and
Okay.
they are high in good fats, and they do have some carbs, but there's fiber in them that helps to offset the carbs. Plus, it's not a bunch of empty carbs like if I bought crackers or chips or a candy bar or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lower carbohydrate diet where you avoid the sugars and starches. But then the next level would be a ketogenic diet. And, a lot of people, you're hearing the term keto, and you might go in the store and see a food that says keto friendly. What's keto? Well, keto is short for ketogenic. And there's a way of eating that's called a ketogenic diet. So this is low carb, but it's lower carb than a low carb diet. Like it's even lower yet. And it's called a ketogenic diet because the main source of your fuel is glucose. But if you deprive your body of glucose, or if you're fasting, say you're away and you can't eat and there's no food around, or there's a famine or whatever, your body uses up the glucose that's stored in your muscles and in your liver. Then eventually it'll switch different fuel. Your liver will start to produce ketones. So ketones are made from they're more fat based rather than sugar based like glucose. So your body will start to use fat and make this kind of fuel called ketones. And they used to think that you had to have some carbohydrates to live,
Yeah.
but that's not true. Dr. Sarah Holberg, she's dead now. She's no alive, but she gave a TED talk where she explained carbohydrates are not a necessary nutrient. Now, your body can use them, and they do, but if you had no carbohydrates, if you do evidently need some glucose for the brain, but the liver makes what you would need. So if so, the ketogenic diet keeps the carbohydrates so low that your body starts to produce these ketones. So that's the next level. Now, some people, like it sounds like somebody that you were referring to earlier, they go one step farther. They go beyond low carb and beyond keto to a carnivore
Yep.
diet,
That's
where
exactly what it's called too. Yeah.
where all they eat is meat and eggs. Okay.
Yep.
Now for me, that would be very hard to do because I just, there's some plants that I like
Yeah.
avocados,
Yeah.
uh, and uh, and and I make a fermented dairy uh, product called kefir. And
Okay.
the fermentation isn't alcoholic. It's more like vinegar like based or fermentation. But I really like that homemade kefir, and that process of it fermenting and turning into kefir instead of milk, that that eats up the good bacteria eats up the sugar in it, so it's not as high in carbs. And there's some plants that have some really good you know nutritional benefits. Now, some people, I've heard them talk about the carnivore diet. There's some people that plants really gave them a hard time. Like they had stomach trouble and uh, aches and all over their body and all that. And then they went to a complete carnivore diet and they were cured of all of that. Their
Yeah.
allergies, skin conditions. So, I mean, plants have a lot of good things in them, but they also have some anti nutrients in them that are not good for you and really give some people a tough time. Like, for example, most people think, oh, spinach, that's a really healthy food. Well, it is. It has a lot of good things in it, but it also is high in oxalates, which can cause kidney stones. And some people, they have to stay away from spinach, from broccoli, green leafy vegetables, which sound healthy, but for them, it's not. So everybody's body is different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what you have to do is instead of with the peanut allergy analogy, instead of taking medication and keep on eating peanuts, just eliminate the peanuts. Well, if you have diabetes, the smartest thing to do is to lay off the carbs and the
And the sugar
sugars, starches. You're right. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
starches, that means potatoes too, everybody. That's one of the hard things I'm having trouble giving up right now. I like
Yeah.
some fried potatoes. I like baked potatoes. So
Yeah.
I'm trying
Now,
to change
here's a
my diet
secret
right
that
now.
I've learned. This is a secret that I've learned about some foods like that. With potatoes, you can lessen the glucose impact if you cook them and let them cool overnight.
Interesting.
And yeah, and the reason for that is when they cool overnight, there's a change in their molecular structure that occurs in which they form some of the starch becomes resistant starch. That's the term for it. And a resistant starch, you don't digest it. In fact, it doesn't really digest. My understanding is till it gets like down into your colon, and then the good bacteria eat it up, and it's good for them. So,
Huh.
so like in other words, if you cook some potatoes and ate them right away, they would be higher in carbs than if you let them cool the next day and you had them in like potato salad. Or if you just, if you would warm them up at just a tiny bit, they wouldn't be as hard on your blood sugar. Another
Inter-
thing you could do is eat them at the end of a meal
At the end of the
after you've
meal.
eaten some protein and fats.
That's you said that in the last episode. I got to remember
Right.
that. Eat them at the
Yeah.
end of the meal. I'm always eating my
Yeah.
sides with the meal, but I need to wait till
Yeah.
the end of the meal. So okay,
Yeah.
you said
Yeah.
that in the last episode.
The carb will have the least amount of glucose impact if you eat them at the end of the meal. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna definitely start trying that because we've been eating a lot of we switched to a lot of meat. Not always,
Mhm.
I know some people think feel meatloaf is not like a good meat, but we just had that the other night. And we had
Yeah.
sloppy joes the night before, and but we're switching to more meat um,
Mm.
and steaks. That meat, steak, and eggs is pretty much what we're switching our diet to over here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Slowly,
good.
slowly.
Uh-huh.
You know how it is.
Yeah. Yep. Now the like sloppy joes, that's fine. The only thing you gotta watch is the sauce that you get. Like they do make ketchup that doesn't have any added sugar, and there are a few like barbecue sauces that I found that I can't think of specific brands right now, but so it's a good idea to look at the label.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if it's no sugar added, it'll say so. that'll be a little easier on your glucose levels as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, here's another thing, John. I might have mentioned this the last time, but another thing that makes glucose levels worse and diabetes worse is frequent eating. Like I'm talking about snacks. Because see, the way that God designed our body is we're supposed to eat a meal and eat till you're full. Eat a good meal, and then our glucose levels rise, and then our body produces insulin to bring those glucose levels down. So ideally, they would come back down long before you eat your next meal. So, and then you eat your next meal, and the glucose levels will go up, and then they'll produce insulin, and then the level goes down. But what happens in America with God has so blessed us with an abundance of food, and He shed His grace on us, for which
Yeah.
I'm really thankful. But one of the downsides is we've thought, hey, we have so much food, and we should have snacks. And don't you need something to tie you over in between meals to eat your next meal? And that I wouldn't doubt that even commercials on television sort of put that idea in our minds. And so we grow up, at least I did, accustomed to snacking between meals.
Yeah.
And so then the problem with that is you eat a meal and your glucose levels are up, so your body produces insulin, but before they have a chance to go back down, you eat again. So then your body has to produce more insulin, and it's longer before the glucose levels go down. So you're spending more time with the glucose and the insulin levels elevated, and then that over a long period of time, not one day, but over a long period of time,
Yeah.
that sort of thing leads to insulin resistance, where the insulin just doesn't work as well. And so it's much better to not eat in between meals. So the way that I accomplish that is, I eat a good healthy meal, and I make sure I include fat, because if you cut the carbs, then you can increase the fat. And it's really the combination of sugar and carbs with high fat that's not good for you. But
Yeah.
if you cut those carbs, you can eat more fat. And after all, if your carbs are low, what else can you eat other than protein and fat? So,
Yeah.
but you can do it. And there's something about fat that makes food taste really good, and it's very satisfying and helps to keep you so that you're not hungry later on.
Yeah. That's what and you were talking about earlier, you referenced it, our other series that we got going
Hmm.
on simultaneously with this one. In fact, we were probably going to do a live episode before you even seen this episode yet. So this is probably covering some of what we've already talked about in the live episode. It's
Hmm.
but
Well, that
yeah,
confirms that I'm not the only one that thinks this way, and
that's exactly right. And
and
he said the same thing about like how much you eat. If you eat a lot of protein, if a high protein diet, then
hmm,
you're not as hungry as often
right,
because your
right,
body's getting what it needs to feed itself.
yeah, that's true. Another thing about eating meat, like some people say, well, if you just ate meat and you're not getting your vegetables, where are you getting your vitamin C? Well, my understanding is meat has vitamin C in it. But if you're eating a carnivore diet, you don't need as much vitamin C.
Yeah,
It's just, yeah, the meat. Like I know initially when God created us, we were completely vegetarian. But after the fall and then after the flood, there were things that changed in the world. And there were things that changed on earth that it's not as conducive to long life and
yeah,
longevity. So God told Noah, this is in Genesis chapter 9, Noah, you know how I've given you the green herb for food? Well, now everything which moveth and creepeth upon the earth shall be food for you. So, if it creeps and moves along, all right, it's okay to eat it. You know, so
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that everything would be the best to eat, but God was officially sanctioning the eating of meat. Yeah.
So he wants us to eat meat. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we need to do. We need to eat meat.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that there are people that are on a vegan diet and they survive, but you know, I'm convinced it's not as good for you, not as healthy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I've heard of some studies that where people that lived real long time they claimed that they were vegetarians, but when you look more closely at those studies, actually the people did eat meat, maybe not as much as we do, but so
Listen,
yeah,
my paps, my
yeah.
pap's over 100 now.
He will be your grandfather, and I know this because he goes to my church. He will be 103 this April.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he eats like the same thing every single. He's a picky. He doesn't have a wide range diet. Okay, I can assure you of this.
yeah.
And
I noticed that. Yeah.
the man's 103. What?
Mm.
How do you argue with that? That's how do you argue that?
I know he likes hamburger,
Yeah, yeah.
and
You're
I'm
not gonna.
I'm not sure what else, but
That's because there is the list isn't very much extensive after that.
yeah,
I can assure you. So, but that's what I'm saying. You look at people who are actually healthy and living a long time. They're not eating a bunch of processed foods and sugars from the grocery store. Their diet's
yeah,
pretty simple, actually. That it seems like the
yeah,
simpler your diet, the better. I mean, of
yeah,
course, as long as it's the right things. You can eat. You can have a simple diet of cupcakes and cookies, but that's not going to be a healthy diet for you.
yeah. Now, see, when I was growing up, like I ate a lot of good and healthy things, but we ate a lot of junk too. Like
Me too.
it was fun. We always had pretzels and chips and
Yep.
cookies and snack foods, and I would drink soda,
Yeah, we
which is
still drink.
really,
Oh
really
yeah,
bad.
I cut that out, but we still do Christmas cookies every year for Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. Now, that reminds me, there are low carb recipes to make some things. Like I just recently made. Um, I guess you could say it's a pumpkin pie without the crust. So I call it pumpkin custard, and I use allulose sweetener, which is it's a natural sweetener. It's not like a chemical,
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be good for you, not harmful. And so I make that without sugar. And there are there's some recipes that I've made where I've made cake, but I use like almond flour instead of
yeah,
regular flour. And when my grandkids come over, my two granddaughters, they love to make breakfast together and they love to make waffles. Well, I use a low carb recipe.
yeah,
So there are some things you can do. You can make it with low carb recipes.
yeah.
Uh,
If you like some of those things, yeah, you can still enjoy them
mm,
with the
yeah,
right recipe. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm sure there are low carb cookies that you can make with almond flour. I don't know if I've ever tried any of those or not, but
I'll have to take
I
maybe
make low carb ice cream.
yeah, yeah. We'll have to experiment with that this upcoming Christmas, I suppose.
Yeah, and my granddaughters and we make low carb ice cream and popsicles. We have molds, and instead of using sugar, I use like another sugar I use is xylitol, and xylitol is really good for your teeth, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, I listened to a dentist one time, and she was explaining how, like, there's trying to think of that kind of gum that I get, Trident. Like I chew Trident sugarless gum. Sounds like
Yeah,
I'm doing a commercial for them,
yeah,
but it's sugarless and there's some xylitol in it. And xylitol is made from birch trees, so it is a natural sweetener, and there's something about it that it kills the bad bacteria in your mouth that lead to
Okay.
tooth decay,
Yeah.
but it leaves the good bacteria alone. So that's one of the sweeteners that I use in place of sugar.
Okay.
So there
Natural
are
sweet.
a lot of recipes, you can
Yeah.
find online, keto recipes and low carb recipes. So you don't have to just eat a terrible, tasting diet. You can find things you like. Now, when
Yeah.
it comes to fruit, see, here's the mistake I made earlier on. I knew that the sugar and potatoes and pasta and rice had to go. Knew that, but there were some things that were higher in carbs that I thought they were okay. Like I was still eating bananas for a while. Well, bananas have a lot of healthy things in them, but for diabetics, they're not a good choice.
Yeah.
There's naturally occurring sugar in bananas. Now they are less harmful if you eat them green, because when they ripen, more of those starches and sugars develop. So if you eat them green, they're lower in carbs and they have the fiber in them, but they're not as good green.
Yeah. And apples and oranges are also higher in sugars than you would
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, they
Even if they
are.
are, I was talking to someone else. I mean, even if they are natural sugars, from plants and stuff, and not
Yeah,
artificially created, you still have to watch that with your
right.
blood sugar. It can still be bad for you if you're gonna
Yeah,
have sugar. If you're gonna have
right,
sugar, it's probably best to have natural sugar, but
right.
you don't want to have too much of it. And as we've discussed, it
Yeah.
messes with your own blood levels.
And then I was thinking, see, I used to eat oatmeal every morning. I love oatmeal. And I was thinking, oh yeah, that's good. I can eat oatmeal. But then I came to learn that that's too high in carbs.
Yep.
Not only that, but a very disturbing thing is that I've read where they tested different oatmeals and they contain residues of glyphosate.
Oh,
Glyphosate is it's a weed killer, uh, and
lovely.
and and what they're doing now is that there's some crops like wheat and oats where right when they're ready to harvest them, they spray them with glyphosate. Another name for it is Roundup because it helps the crops dry out better. So they use it as a desiccating agent. I think that's the term for it, to dry it out. Well, then it doesn't rain on it, so you got all this pesticide in it, and so I wouldn't eat oatmeal anyway unless it's like organically grown, you know,
Yeah.
because of the
How about that?
glyphosate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that's
So,
going on in America's food supply right now. That's pretty crazy. We're uncovering simultaneously with both of the series that we're doing right now. So it's
mm,
maybe after we're done with these, we'll have to look into maybe doing some more reporting on our food here in the United States.
mhm. Yeah. So if you change your diet, it'll have a great impact on your blood glucose. So I'd say eliminate the carbs. You can go low carb or keto or even carnivore, but and cut out the snacking
Yep,
and don't eat at night. Man, when I was growing up, I'd eat at night. I'd have a bowl of cereal before I went to bed.
me too. Who doesn't love
Yeah,
that, right?
right. Oh, it's fun and it
Yeah,
tastes good.
yeah,
But that's really bad for you. I mean, at night is when your glucose levels and your insulin levels should be able to go back down.
yeah,
So and that keeps that from occurring. So you do these things, and it'll help to control your blood sugar. Change your diet, try to get some exercise, and stop eating between meals. And I've learned to try to keep my eating within a 6 to 8 hour eating window. So I eat during that period of time in the day, and then the rest of the time I don't eat. So it's called intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And, most of that time period I'm sleeping. Like that includes the time you're sleeping, which
Yeah.
we touched on before. You do these things and it's going to help your glucose levels.
Yep. And no, more than that, as we're finding out from our other series, changing your diet can do a lot of things, not just for your glucose levels, but for your heart, for your brain,
Right.
for
Yeah.
how you feel and how you function. So, what you put into your
Yeah.
body is important. So, even myself, like starting these two series, I was like, I'm looking at what I'm eating, I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to the other JD, and I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to do these series, probably going to need to change my diet. So yeah, we've
Mm.
started to hear as well. Based on what we talked about even before we started the series, because we were talking about what we were going to talk about and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to do these, I'm just going to have to do this. So yeah, and it's not
Mm.
easy. We talked about in the other series, Pastor. You're not going to be perfect every day. If you want to change your diet, you're gonna slip up. You're gonna have a cupcake. You're gonna have a can of
Right.
soda.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a cup of coffee, or you're
Yeah.
going to have some potatoes. So it's not, don't have to worry about being perfect right out of the gate.
Right.
Start changing your diet in small amounts, because eventually
Yeah.
those small steps will lead to bigger things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned to, I call it dancing around the carbs if I have to. Like, so sometimes I'll be with, like, something will happen. We'll go to somebody's house or whatever, and they're serving pizza. So what I've learned to do is like I may take one or two bites of pizza and then I just eat what's on top of it and I ditch the crust. I just throw not just the crust around the edge, but
Yeah, the whole
like I
crust. You
scrape
take,
the cheese and everything off it. Now, I hate doing that. Like when I was growing up, my mother really impressed upon me, don't waste food.
yep, me too.
So I hate to waste food, but what am I going to do? That crust is really bad for me. So
Yeah,
it's a choice
exactly.
of wasting some crust or wasting me,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, that is a thing, but that's, we're blessed enough to live in a country where we actually can have that choice, where we can actually do that, where we can make the choice that what's better for us, not just
Mm,
because, oh, we're hungry and we have to eat something. We can actually choose what we consume.
right.
So that's why it's
Yeah.
important to pay attention to what you're consuming.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there's some podcasters that benefited from YouTube, especially. And one of them is Dennis Polak, and his channel is called Beat Diabetes. And, I learned a lot from him. He's not a doctor, he's actually a missionary preacher. But he became diabetic and he learned how to defeat it. So his channel is called Beat Diabetes. And he has a lot of good ideas and suggestions. And I listen to him, and there are others that I listen to.
Yeah, we'll keep putting a
But
list together. We'll keep giving a shout out in every
yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, because we're about other people succeeding just like we want to succeed. We're not looking to exceed at the expense of others. So we want to, we don't have a problem with shouting out other people or other shows here. You know what I mean? That's one
mhm,
of the things we do.
yeah, yeah,
All right, Pastor. Well, I think that's where we're going to wrap this episode up.
yeah,
If I'm reading your style correctly, I should be at this point.
mhm,
We've only done 70 or 80 episodes together at this point.
yeah,
Um, but yes, we're going to keep this going. The Defeating Diabetes series will be going for a little while. The New Testament survey will be coming, but Pastor Gavin wanted to do this first, so this one will be going. Um, we're not sure yet on how many we're going to do of these, or is this going to be an ongoing series, Pastor? Or we don't know yet. We're just
mhm,
okay.
yeah.
So,
We don't
so
know how
once,
many.
once we get
I
a
do
few,
know that I have my boiling point cup here.
yes,
Can you guys see that? The
yes,
boiling
we can.
point.
Yes, we can.
Here,
Yes,
I'm
it's
trying
good.
to.
Yeah, that's your custom mug. We don't have any of those in our storefront, unfortunately. I'm still working on trying to get our engraved mugs available to people. But we do have the storefront, and you can pick up stuff from the storefront,
What
bonfire.com.
other merch do we have there?
We have t-shirts. I had a lot of stuff there. So we have obviously t-shirts. We have a lot of different t-shirt designs. But we also have hip bags up there now. We have actual backpacks like duffel bags now as well. Now
Hmm.
some of these items are expensive. We have a windbreaker jacket. Some of these items are expensive, okay, but they're also good quality. And if you get anything that's damaged, or if it's not printed right, or if it, anything like that, if there's an error or it's damaged in any way, please let us know. And also, you can also reach directly out to Bonfire. They have great customer service. So even if you get something that wasn't right, or it was ripped, or it was broken when it arrived, reach out to us, because we'll make sure we reach out to Bonfire as well. But also reach out to Bonfire. They're really good about, giving you another item, or refunding your money, or whatever it might be that you need. So don't be afraid that if you're concerned about spending a lot of money, just remember, if it's broken or damaged in any way, Bonfire has excellent return policies and customer service. So don't be afraid to get some of the expensive items. But we also have cheaper items as well. We have our handkerchief or bandana there as well. We have yard signs available now, pants and shorts. We have a lot of different stuff available on our storefront now, Pastor. So go and check that out.
Yeah.
Every sale helps us, a little bit, but it's also about the marketing. You're wearing something with our logo and our name on it. People are going to ask you about, hey, what's that? That helps us even more than that's, the few dollars that we get, in profit from the storefront. So it's more about the marketing for us. So please pick
Hmm.
something up and wear it out in public, because that will help us a lot. And thank you, Pastor, for bringing up the storefront and letting me get the plugs in for that on your series. I appreciate it very much. Make sure you go check out Pastor Gavin. He releases his episodes every Saturday night, like clockwork. You can literally set your watch to it. He only misses, I think, 2 weeks every year. And that's it. It doesn't matter. Like that's all he misses. 2 weeks a year. I think one happens around Christmas, and then I'm not sure when the other one happens. But I,
I
uh,
guess when I'm out of town
okay,
or if I have
sometimes, yeah,
technical difficulties, yeah.
yeah, or technical difficulties, yeah. But you're gonna see him every Saturday night. He releases every Saturday night. Make sure you go check out. Just search for Gavin Whitcomb Senior on YouTube, and you can find his channel. Hit that subscribe button. We've gotten him over triple digits now. We've gotten him over 100 followers on YouTube now. So we want to keep that going and reach that 150 mark is the next one we're going towards. So let's keep that
Hmm.
going. And remember, hit the share button. Your likes, your comments, your shares on social media are your currency there. Use it as you want it. Use it with content you want to see in your feed. Don't play the game. Don't play the hate game that the big corporations and the big politicians want you to play. Use your likes for the things you like. Use your comments for the things you like. Use your shares for the things you like. Stop being negative. That's the new message, Pastor. I'm finishing most of my episodes with.
Yep, there you go.
So yes, check us out. There'll be another episode of this coming within a week or two. So I hope you enjoy it. Share it out and leave Pastor Gavin a comment or a question. We'd be happy to do a Q&A episode. Until next time, this is Pastor Gavin's series, and I am just the guy who runs the show and takes care of the technical stuff for him. My name is J.D., and this is not the end, only the beginning.